All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. It is October 5th. We got a jobs report, or I guess the unemployment report this morning, which was pretty vanilla, I would say, compared to the last couple of data points in the labor market that we've seen. Where yesterday we got 90,000 jobs added, according to the ADP, versus 180,000 expected, and then the one before that was huge upside surprise for the job openings. But today, the jobless claims came in at 207,000 versus 210,000 expected. So a little bit better. 205,000 last month, so a little bit higher. But let's see. Continuing jobless claims coming in at 1664 versus 1675 expected. And actually down from 1665, sorry. So pretty muted report. Let's check on the 10-year, see if we got any impact on that. Looks like we're actually coming down on this. And we might have a top in the 10-year at 4.806, currently at 4.719. We do have some Fed speakers today, so that could maybe change the long end of the yield curve. But for right now, it looks like this is headed down from the top at 4.8. See you later, alligator. Hi, Joey. Got 2 minutes till market open. Watching 3 stocks. Meta to the downside with the stop up at 307, currently at 305. Google looking to the upside. This one's actually a swing trade that I held overnight with a stop down at 134. And Amazon to the upside with the stop down at 125.75, currently at 127. So we'll see how today shakes out. Hopefully these are some good trades. These are next week's expirations, by the way. I do want to give it a little bit more time because I've been a little bit impatient with my trading lately, and the longer you can wait on it, as long as it doesn't hit your stop, the more money you could potentially make. So we'll see. Like an Amazon pulling back into that zone at 126.50, that'll cheapen these options a bit. Delta on them is 40. 75 cent stop would be roughly 30 cents. Checking out the Googs. Still got a ways till our stop. But about 2 Delta would be $100 a contract. In Meta, our one downside position. Delta's 40, and we're risking almost 2 Delta, so about $80 a contract there. Hi, welcome. $45 seconds till market open. Let's see who we got speaking today. We already had Fed Mester coming out and speaking earlier. One of the more hawkish members of the Fed at 9 a.m. So that's already done. We got Fed Dolly and Fed Barkin speaking at 11:30 for Barkin, 12 o'clock for Daily. And then you got Barr speaking at 12:15. And then you get the Fed's balance sheet at 4:30. And that's pretty much it for the day. So pretty muted day in terms of data, but we do have those Fed speakers that could give us a little bit of volatility in this market. All right, here we go. Markets are off. Let's check on Googs. Popping up higher, right at that high from yesterday, and pulling back just shy of 136.50. Let's check on Amazon in the meantime, and then on Meta. Amazon's looking like a prime play. Again, my stop's about 75 cents lower. For a 40 delta, that would be about 30 cents. And they're trading at 145, so our stop's at 115. Looks like markets are pulling back right now, though. So Meta could be the better play. It's at 304.70, not really changing much. 304.50, so 250 in Delta would be about $100 a contract. Trading at 545. All right, take that trade on. 565 fill. 450 stop. Okay. And then Amazon was the other one we wanted to look into. Looks like that one is pulling back right now. And you're looking at about a 50-cent stop for a 30 delta. Wow, that delta dropped really quick. $30 delta, 25-cent stop now. So 30 over 25, 30 over 4 would be 7, basically a $10 stop on them. Trading at 128 right now. Let's see if we can get a little bit lower. I'd say 130 is a good entry with a stop at 120. I think we actually bought those at 131, but not too much of a difference there. Let's check back in on Google, see how that's performing. Right above 136. Went back and forth between 136.50 and 135.50, so about $1 range up and down. Chop in this first 5 minutes. Coming back up after that dip down to 303.50. Let's see where the contracts went. Peaking at 600 almost. 595. Pretty mixed market though so far from what we're seeing. We're seeing a few names in the red. Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, somewhat red, not too bad, but then you got Nvidia in the green, Tesla's in the green even after yesterday's massive rally. And Nvidia's inching out Tesla right now. Amazon is the deepest in the red right now, so that's a bit worrying for our calls unless we just get a choppy day for it. Might have to be a little bit tighter on my take profit. Maybe a 126.50. We do have next week's expiration, so we might be able to hold this, but definitely betting against direction with it being the biggest loser today. Let's see where the next possible support is. Like 125. Seeing Apple pumping right now too. In the green by 0.3%. Could maybe take a long position here. Yesterday was already pretty bullish. Looks like Meta might be gaining some steam to the downside. Yeah. Back to that low at 303.50, which is about where it jumped in the midday. Getting a pullback under 303 now. Google's still sitting at that 126 mark and not really changing much. 136. Let's check around for Amazon. Still pulling back. Looks like we'll get a stop here. Meta just became the biggest loser, down 0.95. Meta and Amazon are competing with one another for biggest loser. And Netflix too. I'm still thinking this will go to 301.50. Maybe we see 300 today. Contracts are at 635 from our 565 entry. Let's see if there's any news for Meta. I don't think there is, but we'll see. Yeah, nothing much. About to hit our stop for Amazon. The bid is our stop. Yep. Here comes 301.50 for Meta. Google's still a little bit under 136 now, but $0.50 more for Meta here. Contracts are trading for 670. You got about 30 delta left. It's about 15 cents. Should put them at 690, which is the asking price at the moment. We have just 5 of them. Didn't go heavy on the position. Alright, I'll sell for 685. I just missed that order. Getting a rebound right before we get to that 301.5 mark, it looks like. With a low at 301.70. Top on that candle was 680. And there it goes, retesting. Alright, I'll get out at 680 if it's possible. No, just shy. What app is this? Thinkorswim by TD Ameritrade. Alright, just gonna keep the limit order in. So those at 680. Bought those at 565. So 575 gain. Google's trying to push here. Looks like we're getting a bit of a pullback for the green names. Nvidia from 445 to 443 now. Tesla from 264 almost to 261. Looks like Meta hit our mark. 3015. Contracts aren't that much more expensive, surprisingly. Now you're probably going to see 300. And that'll put these at about 760, 750 a piece. Still waiting on Google to make any move, but that 136 level's acting as a magnet right now. Going back and forth for the last 30 minutes. Looks like Amazon is still dropping, so the few names that are like leading the red are continuing to go down. Could take a trade for the downside on Amazon. Meta's all the way down at 300 now. Those puts are at 755. Looks like Tesla just went back in the red. So the green names are pulling back besides Apple. Yeah, there's Meta at 300. Netflix steep drop too. That would have been a really good short. With a stop at 378.50. Amazon's got that steam to the downside. Support's going to be at 124.80, currently at 125.50. So there's not that much room for it to fall unless it blows past the support. Now everything's in the red. Yeah, the Metafall definitely was a banker. Leading the downside 1.8% now. Apple's really the only one that hasn't pulled back too sharp. Nvidia's starting a pullback, but some support's right below it at 437.50. Microsoft we might be able to take down to like 315. This one's just been going back and forth between those levels. Probably with a stop at 320. It's about a 1-1 risk reward though, so it's not ideal. Trying to find something that poses the best risk reward. Kind of like Amazon, but only if it goes down to like 123. Could also maybe take one on Tesla to the downside since it was so green yesterday, but I would want a pretty tight stop for that. Just because it still does have that little bit of momentum from the pre-market and after hours. But getting this down to like 252.5 might be possible. It's already down 0.5% right now. Let's go with a 252.5 strike. For next week. Right now it's at 259, almost 260. Probably want our stop at 262. It's about 250 higher on a delta at 34. 250 times 30 will be about a 90-cent stop. 90-cent stop from 450 would be 360 stop. Okay. Okay, well, don't have enough in the account right now for that trade. But I think that one could play out pretty well. Checking back in on Goog. We're still seeing it trading lower at 135.25, catching some support down here. But not looking like a pretty day for the bulls. Let's check on the 10-year, see how that's going. It's still pulling back. So, not really sure what's pulling the market down. Let's check the dollar index. That's pulling back too, so equity should be rising, but we're not seeing that right now. Wow. Netflix just took over as the biggest loser. Down 1.7% to 370 right now. I think I'll set a stop for my weeklies on Google at 135 and then hold those 1027s to 134 at the stop. And place the stop a little bit lower at 55 for Google on the weeklies. It's supposed to be 10 of them, not 5. I ended up buying these way higher. Sold some of them right before the close. The majority of them right before the close. Pulling back right to 135. Hopefully we gain support here, but not looking pretty. Meta's down to 300 again. So the names deep in the red are continuing to come down. And we're seeing a pullback for the names that were in the green. NVIDIA, namely. Apple's still kind of hanging on at 173.50, but Barely there. Those metas are trading at 790 for the puts that we sold. Right under 700. Google's got that support at 135 for now. Just barely hanging on to it. Let's see, the low on that candle was 134.98, so just barely under 135. Enough to stop people out, but we'll see if it keeps headed lower here. Checking out the 5-minute candles, definitely looking bearish. With a new resistance at 135.50. I'd say it's still looking bullish on the hourly chart, but in today's market, it's been very, very choppy lately. As long as it's got that support between 135 and 134, I'd say it's still bullish for the moment. Just need to pass up that 136 level, and then you'll have resistance up at 138. Meta and Netflix are both chilling at the lows. Actually, Netflix is going lower. But Meta seems to finally... maybe. Let's check the 5-minute. It's got some support at 300, but might not be too strong. Google's still standing at 135. Pulling back on the 5-minute chart, another big red candle here. We're not really seeing much out of NVIDIA. This one's more choppy than anything. It is down, but some support at 439, 438. Apple actually cracked that support at 173.50. Microsoft's headed down with that. Tesla just gained support at the 257.5 mark. I'm about to get stopped out on Google with the weekly puts, still holding on to the monthlies. NVIDIA just barely in the green at 0.01%. What did these contracts peak for Google? At the 136.50 mark. This morning was 136 at the high. Gonna get some time decay since these are weeklies with expiration tomorrow. Back to 135 again. We can get a V-shaped recovery, that would get it back to 136, but not really seeing that playing out so far this morning. It's been a pretty brutal day to the downside for most of these names. Russia's Putin says the Ukraine conflict isn't about territories. It's about global order. The West always needs an enemy. He's not wrong. That is where a majority of our money is made in war. Redfin rental market. Rent rose only 0.4% year over year. Huh. Wonder how accurate that data is, though. Still seeing Google getting pulled to that 135 level. You want to see this probably back at like 135.30 to 135.50 before you start seeing that V shape shaping up. Nvidia's still barely in the green, 0.07% at 441. That one's got a nice bounce. Double bottom at about 439. Amazon is still headed lower. I was looking at the 15-minute chart for support at 124.75. It almost got there. Stopped at 125. The low on that candle is 124.97, so just barely under 125. Similar to how Google moved. Tesla did end up coming down to that 257.5 mark. Still think I could go to 252.5, but markets look like they might be trying to change directions here. Let's see if we got any Fed speakers yet coming out. No, not till 11:30 for Barkin. Seeing a little bit of improvement from Google here. 135.15. Still not where I would like it to call a V-shaped recovery starting. 135.50, you'd want to see it, or like 135.75. You're getting a bounce out of Meta, so that could help the market since that was one of the deep red ones. Netflix too, from 369 to 370.5. So the deep red names are actually rebounding here. To some degree, at least. Amazon's gaining that support at 125 to 125.25, so not really too far off of it yet. But Netflix had a good jump from 368 to 371. And again, Meta, that was a decent one from 300 to 301.50. But yeah, that's probably all the trades I'll make today. Looks like we're getting a bit of a recovery right now, so taking the long side on these deep red names could be a decent idea. And I will catch y'all tomorrow at 9:30. See you, everybody.